Okay, today we're reviewing Capanna's Brunello di Montalcino from 2015. And Montalcino, the village, is located north of the Val d'Orcia in literally one of Tuscany's most picturesque landscapes. And the region produces some of Tuscany's best wines. And I would argue it's the world's best expression of Sangiovese, the varietal Sangiovese, anywhere in the world. The Capanna winery is owned and operated by the Cencioni family, and it's been 4 generations now. They actually have a fifth on the way. The winery is located in the north side of Montalcino, and it's in a crew called Montosoli. And they are one of the oldest producers in Brunello, being one of the original founding families that created the consortium which regulates these wines. I've been working with the Cencioni family for years now. They're one of my favorite producers in the region, and they're very traditional in their winemaking style. Their 2015 harvest for the Brunello was exceptional for them. But before we jump into the wine and the wine tasting, let's recap some basics about the DOCG Brunello Montalcino, as it has some of the strictest rules for production. So first off, it must be 100% Sangiovese. There are no other grape varietals allowed in the wine. They limit the quantity of grapes grown per acre to keep the yield real low and the quality really high. The farmers must dry farm out there. The wines must spend at least 2 years minimum aging in oak barrels. However, even with 2 years aging, the wines still cannot be released until the 5th year after the harvest. So long production, slow production, these are wines that generally don't come out until the 5th year after the harvest. However, they often will cellar incredibly, so sometimes you need to age them even longer. So those are just some of the basics about the Brunello, but let's taste. The color of Capanna's Brunello is a classic ruby red. There are some slight garnet reflections. However, the wine's young. Keep in mind, even though it's 5 years old, this wine has just been released this year in January, and it will age a really long time. No problem holding onto this wine 20, 25 years. So it still has young colors, vibrant colors. Let's jump into the tasting, you guys. Okay, you guys, we are tasting today. This is Capanna's 2015 Brunello di Montalcino, and love this producer. Been working with these guys for a really long time. They've been out there for a lot longer time. They're going on 4 generations now. They're actually one of the original producers of the Brunello di Montalcino, kind of one of the first 10 producers, I think, out there that actually helped found the region, the consortium that governs the laws and the body and everything. But they've always been sort of a beacon for traditional style Brunellos. So very traditional wines that can age really well, a lot of power, a lot of structure. They're on the north side. But let's jump into the tasting right away. Their 2015, like everybody's, it was a big year, very similar to the 2010s. A lot of power, a lot of structure on all these wines across the board. It was a great region, or excuse me, it was a great vintage in the region. But with Capanna's, like a lot of their wines, you get this first and foremost, and almost a signature for them, this really bright cherry that comes across, really ripe, bright cherry fruit that's coming across. Lots of other stuff in this wine though. A little bit more intense. It's got this subtle spice, almost a tarragon that's coming through. A little bit of sweet floral on the end there as well. But also keep in mind, this wine is really young. So I would sort of argue it's being a little shy. It's not really showing 100% of itself yet, which is going to be the case for most of these wines from this particular vintage. But let's get into the tasting and see what's going on here. So, again, the fruit comes out again really strong, powerful. This wine has an excellent persistence. It is dry. It has this lingering freshness that's real strong back here. Nice tannin structure. Not over the top. The wine's drinkable. I mean, you definitely want, juicy steak or some fatty food with it, some succulence with it if you're going to have it young like this, or if you want to let it sit in the bottle for a few more years. That will obviously mellow out quite a bit. But what always strikes me about their wines is they've got this beautiful persistence, this really clean finish, lots of power, but not over the top. Everything's in there. You've got lots of fruit, you've got floral, you've got some spice, but nothing's over the top. You know, the spice definitely is complementary. These guys don't use the French oak barrels, so you don't get too much of those oaky aromas, if hardly any at all. They come through as almost these balsamic spice when they're young, and as they start to age, you'll start to see that kind of mature into a little bit more of like a leather tobacco kind of aroma, but that takes some time, you know, at least probably 8-10 years from today. Love this wine, love this producer, and real small producer also. I probably talked about this in the beginning of the video, but you know, these guys are somewhere around 6,000 cases annually, and of their actual Brunello, I want to say it's about 1,000 cases, maybe a little bit less than 2,000 cases, somewhere in between those two. But anyways, that's it.